It was a cold and gray morning in New York, and the world had no idea what was about to unfold. Donald Trump, the construction magnate, former president of the United States and controversial figure, was about to embark on a mission that would change the course of history. Known for his hard stance and impulsive leadership style, Trump was now being seen in a new light. He had decided that his life had a new purpose. His mission was bolder and more important than anything he had done before, to end the wars that ravaged the planet. The decision came after a night of deep reflection. In recent years, Trump had faced political battles and relentless criticism. During his presidency, he had been the subject of controversies, but what many didn't know was that, deep down, he felt a sense of emptiness. The fight for power and business success had always motivated him. But over time, he realized that the world didn't need just another business leader or politician. It needed someone willing to use their power and influence for something greater. It all began at a private dinner when Trump gathered his family and closest allies to announce his decision. At the table were Ivanka and Jared Kushner, his son Donald Jr., and other key members of his team. "I'm no longer the same man I was years ago," Trump said with sincerity that surprised everyone. "The wars, the deaths, the destruction, they have to stop. If anyone has the resources and influence to change this, it's me, and that's what I will do. I've traveled the world and seen the suffering, but now it's time to use everything I've achieved for something greater." The revelation was a shock, not only to his family, but to the entire world. The magnate, who had always been associated with wealth and power, was now becoming a symbol of peace. His proposal was ambitious: to travel the world, meet with world leaders, and use his influence to negotiate peace in regions devastated by decades of conflict. His first stop was the Middle East, a region marked by years of war and political tensions. In a historic meeting with leaders from countries such as Israel, Palestine, and several Arab nations, Trump displayed diplomatic skills that few could have predicted. He used his experience in negotiations and his direct style to bring everyone to the table and seek concrete solutions. Unlike other politicians who had attempted to resolve the conflict, Trump was not intimidated by threats or external pressures. He went beyond traditional politics, embracing a stance that impressed even his harshest critics. During his visit to Gaza, Trump was met with skepticism. Many saw him as someone who didn't understand the complexity of the situation. But as he walked through the devastated streets, witnessing the suffering of families and hearing the heartbreaking stories of those who had lost everything, he was deeply moved. "We can't live like this anymore. We can't let hatred define our lives," he said in a poignant speech. The international media quickly picked up on Trump's account, and soon he was at the center of attention. But the journey was far from easy. There were challenges, sabotage, and even threats against his life from those who saw his mission as a threat to their interests. However, Trump remained firm, convinced that despite all the difficulties, he was on the right path. After successful negotiation in the Middle East, Trump headed to Asia, where he met with Kim Jong-un, the leader of North Korea. Their previous conversations during his presidency had been marked by tension, but with his new mission in mind, Trump believed that now was the time for a new kind of dialogue. The meeting was tense at first, with both sides wary of each other's intentions. However, Trump, with his experience in negotiations and ability to handle extreme situations, was able to create space for a more open conversation. In a historic moment, the two leaders agreed on a significant reduction of tensions on the Korean Peninsula, with a public commitment to nuclear de-escalation. The world watched in astonishment as Trump, the businessman who had always been seen as an outsider, now appeared as a global peacemaker. History was being written before their eyes. With success in the North Korean negotiations, Trump continued on to Africa, where conflict in various regions had caused immense suffering. In countries such as the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Somalia, Trump used his influence to pressure local governments to adopt measures for peace and stability. International pressure, combined with charisma and financial resources, helped create conditions for ceasefires and historic peace agreements. But his journey in Africa wasn't without challenges. During a visit to the Central African Republic, he had to face the harsh reality of a continent devastated by war. Visiting refugee camps and talking to civilians who had lost everything, Trump was moved. This isn't just their problem. It's everyone's problem. The world can't keep turning its back on the suffering of these people. I have the resources to change this, and that's what I will do, he said with conviction that left everyone around him speechless. As he traveled through various regions, Trump also implemented pragmatic measures to rebuild local economies. He created an international reconstruction fund, supported by the United Nations and other international organizations, to ensure that war-torn areas had the opportunity to rebuild their infrastructure. In South Sudan, for example, new schools were established and health programs were put in place, saving thousands of lives. However, the greatest challenge of all was yet to come. During a trip to Syria, Trump was confronted by a rebel group that opposed his peace mission. The situation became dangerous, and the former president's life was at risk. What seemed like the biggest failure of his journey turned into a moment of revelation. In the midst of the confrontation, Trump did something no one expected. He approached the rebel leaders and, instead of resorting to force, offered a peace deal with conditions that would guarantee security and prosperity for all parties involved. The tension was palpable, but in the end, the impossible happened. The rebel group agreed to the ceasefire. The news was broadcast live and immediately went viral. The world, stunned, watched as Donald Trump, a former president who had been widely criticized for his aggressive style, was now seen as a hero of peace. He had not only avoided an imminent war, but had also done the unthinkable. He brought leaders of enemy factions to the negotiation table and saved countless lives. When Trump returned to the United States, he did not find only applause and recognition. He found a nation that finally saw him in a new light. His political enemies could no longer ignore his impact. Trump had changed the course of history and, in doing so, had gained something he never thought he would achieve: peace of mind. He knew that his life now had a greater purpose than any previous accomplishment. At a celebratory event held at the United Nations, Trump was honored for his contribution to world peace. In his speech, he spoke about the importance of all the peoples of the world coming together, not in war, but in solidarity. True greatness does not come from victory over others, but from the ability to bring people together, to create something that benefits everyone, he stated, with a sincerity that had won the hearts of many. In his speech, Trump also emphasized the importance of listening to the stories of those living in war. He highlighted the tears and dreams of those who are often seen only as victims. Each lost life, each destroyed family, represent a failure of our humanity. We cannot allow this to continue. We need to listen more, talk less, and act with compassion and courage. When everything seemed to have calmed down, Donald Trump made the final announcement of his mission. He would create a global foundation dedicated to promoting world peace and eradicating poverty. This is my legacy. It's not about money, power, or fame. It's about making the world a better place for everyone without exception, he declared. He founded the Global Peace and Prosperity Foundation, with the goal of fostering diplomatic negotiations and funding reconstruction initiatives in war-torn countries. His foundation received support from various governments and international NGOs, and soon became a center of excellence for the peaceful resolution of conflicts worldwide. Trump was finally fulfilling the promise he had made, to use his power and influence for the greater good. The story of Donald Trump, the man who was once seen as a symbol of division and polarization, would now be remembered as the story of a man who, in his final act, chose to transform his life and leave a legacy of peace. If you were moved by this inspiring story of change, transformation, and hope, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Here, you'll find more videos about figures who change the world with their actions. Leave a like, comment below, and share this message so that the impact of these stories reaches every corner of the planet. Together, we can spread hope and humanity throughout the world.